How about this? How old was your victim?
Right. I didn't find out that my victim was underage until after we had sex. And the two females were 15 years old, both of them. After a while, one of the victims had brought another female, 14 years old, to my apartment. And me and 14-year-old had.
And we're about to see the Iowa parole hearing for a man that was sentenced to 30 years for the three victims, two 15-year-olds and a 14-year-old. But it's not just that. You see, he was arrested just the year before for harboring two underage runaways. Yes, and while he was out on bond for those charges, he caught these three felonies. Now the judge sentenced him to 30 years, and it even made the news reports that he got a 30-year sentence, but they're running concurrently. So he only got 10 years for all of this. Now, up for parole after really just a couple years after sentencing. And will the parole board do what they can to keep the community safe? Will the parole board see through his answers that he's still blaming the victims, his plans of working at a movie theater when he gets out of prison? Seems a little bit like Fox in the hen house to me. Will the parole board care about that? Well, we're about to find out. That let's jump in.
Nathaniel Whitfield, 620-3458.
Hey, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine.
Good, thank you.
All right.
So just take a deep breath, and relax. And I want you to go back to that day. What brought you to prison? And describe the crime. Give us some detail what's going on, and you have the floor.
All right. Well, my crime is a third-degree sex abuse, 3 counts. It started with me being in front of a church and soliciting 2 females who I had never met before. And they originally wanted to know routes to take in order to get to a bus stop. And I gave them those directions, but then I had invited them to my apartment, which was nearby the church that I was standing in front of. In the midst of their invitation, we had sex that day, and ongoing of after that day, we had sex multiple times. As time passed on, what was I going? Right here, apartment. Right.
How about this? How old was your victim?
Right. I didn't find out that my victim was underage until after we had sex. And the two females were 15 years old, both of them. After a while, one of the victims had brought another female, 14 years old, to my apartment. And me and 14-year-old had sex.
Okay. And you did not complete your SOTP? Is that correct?
I did complete.
You did complete it. Okay. What did you learn that your cognitive distortions were?
Cognitive distortion.
Those are the thoughts that make you justify your actions.
that I wasn't given awareness to their age appropriately.
So when you did find out their age, did you continue the relationship?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Um, I continued based on the circumstance of our affairs, the fact that I wasn't denied any interaction with them.
Okay. So you felt that because nobody resisted or said no, that it was okay?
Right.
That would be a cognitive distortion as well. So, what kind of tools did Active give you? I heard you did pretty well in that class.
Active opened up the understanding between pros and cons on making decisions, and the lesson of lesson of and the lesson of
No worries, it's okay. My last question for you right now would be, what type of work do you hope to gain if you are released?
I haven't really been given any adequate referrals to any applicable jobs. I'm not sure exactly where I would be fortunate to apply with me being a sex offender.
Do you have a work experience though?
Yes, I do.
In what?
As a cashier, I worked at the Rialto Cinema and Philly Steak Restaurant in Coral Ridge Mall.
I have one last question. Do you have any other victims in the victims of this crime?
No, I don't.
Thank you. I have no more questions. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. Dana?
Yeah, just a couple quick ones here. What do you know about Hope House?
I'm unfamiliar with Hope House.
So what do you foresee as your support system? If we grant your release, the plan is to parole to Hope House in Coralville. What do you foresee as your support system in Coralville?
I was going to can't find the word. I was gonna start looking for jobs in the area that would hire me.
Do you have any family or friends in the community that you would that you could turn to for support if you need it?
Unfortunately, no. I do have a sibling, Jack, lives in Coralville, but we haven't had contact in a few years.
Okay, what do you think you're going to need in terms of support to be successful if we grant your release?
As far as mental health wise,
Anything, your mental health, substance abuse, anything. What do you think you are going to need in terms of support so that you can be successful?
well, first I considered therapy. Therapy is one. I have been considering getting a job to support financial needs, as well as continuing my medication.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. I think those are the only questions I had.
Thank you, Dana. Meredith?
Yeah, good morning. I just have a couple of questions for you. When did you start your medication?
I originally started my medication as of restarting it or first starting it.
Restarted.
Oh, I restarted my medication in 2023, 2024, 23.
Okay. So when you came to prison,
Yes.
and had you tried this medication before or different medications before?
Since present, I tried about the same type of medication.
Okay. And did you have periods of time where you were taking it regularly and then periods where you weren't?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us about what happened to make you stop taking it?
I stopped taking it for a few years.
And was it you just didn't want to take it, or did you have problems, getting it or getting to the doctor or anything like that?
It was based on my desire to continue being supplied medication.
And I know you had mentioned that one of the things you think will help you be successful is continuing your medication when you leave. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what makes you say that now, that you think your medication will help?
It helps my mood, my energy, which was the effect of me being so open and willing to lead on juveniles that I never knew.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think those are the only questions that I have for you.
Any follow-up, Dana?
I do not.
So, Mr. Whitfield, if there's anything that you would like us to know that we haven't covered or anything you prepared, you have the floor at this time to say what you like.
I have not prepared anything thus far.
Okay. So just want to leave it right there?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go into deliberation at this time, meaning we're going to make a decision. So just sit back and relax. Once we made a decision, I'll come back to you and explain, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Colleagues.
I can go ahead. I'm gonna support this recommendation for a parole with the 10B to start at the work release. He completed SOTP with max benefits. He was an active participant in his active classes. Getting him out into the community will get him started at least with some aftercare and help with that in the community. It sounds like, he feels like his medication's helping him. He was able to identify for us some of those cognitive distortions, like you were talking with him about, Jesse. It does sound like he's gonna need the assistance at the work release to get him, set back up with a job that, will hire him with an apartment. And, that's the best place for him to be, with people who know how to find jobs and apartments with the restrictions that he's going to have. So I think that it's the best plan for him. So I'm gonna, let's see, so it'd be a parole with a 10B, the no early discharge, the limited internet, no contact with minors. 40A will need mental health and medication compliance. I think that is it, actually.
Thank you. Dana?
I agree with everything Meredith said. Hopefully, Hope House provides that support he needs, to be successful. I also agree with the codes, but with the med compliance, I'd like to throw a 50A on there in the PSI. There were some notes in there about, we're only a couple years removed from that. I think it was 2022 or 2023 where he said I would drink to the point of intoxication a couple times a month. I think that's a dangerous activity, when being on those medications. And I think that prohibition just eliminate one more distraction, so that hopefully he can stay compliant and be successful.
All right, thank you. You agree with that, Vicky?
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Whitfield, before I give you my decision, I want the forum to understand that this interview is just part of our investigation. Not only we use this interview to gather information, but we also were able to see the evaluation that was submitted by your counselor, your institutional records, your risk assessments, criminal score, substance abuse history, treatment history, and your release plan. So I too am going to be in agreement with the DOC recommendation to parole you to the what's it called? Hope House. You heard us say some codes. I think it's going to be very important for you to seek out the therapy that you said and stay med compliant. It's going to be a good tool for you to be successful. And if you stick to that, you have a heck of a good chance, but you really got to stay diligent to those meds and your appointments, especially with your PO and with whatever he directs you to do. So the codes that we mentioned was a PG D3 with a 10B, that'll get you to the work release. The 20A is for limited access on the internet. The 20B is you're going to go to the term of your discharge date. The 30A is you have no contact with minors unless approved by your PO. And the 50A, we don't want you drinking alcohol, period. No liquor stores, no bars, okay? Is there any of that you don't understand?
No.
All right, so that will conclude this interview. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you next month.
And Iowa is nuts. And if you're new to this channel and you're surprised, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but this is consistent. They do this over and over and over again. And I want to let you know that this man, it was not his first offense. Okay, it was a year prior where he was facing 2 years in prison for harboring underage runaways. Then A year after that, while he still has that in the courts pending sentence, where he gets charged for essaying 2 girl runaways, different victims. It's my understanding, we'll go over the information Holly provided, that he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. But it's 3 different 10-year sentences running concurrently. So he had 10 years in prison. Okay, 10 years. Well, how in the world is he up for parole and paroled after like 2? The parole board, they didn't even say, well, we want him to have supervision. He has a 10-year sentence. You guys are nuts. You're dangerous. What about this? Oh, his plan is to go work at the local movie theater. Oh, where he worked so he could prey on teenagers. He was 27 years old when he committed this crime. And he's working as a cashier at a local movie theater where his victims are. Like, the whole thing about, well, are you on your, you're going to do your medication. Like, what are you talking about? Like, half of America is on that. No one's essaying children. Seriously. You lose your mind watching this stuff. Let me just read it to you. So for the record, all right, he's charged November 19th, 2022. He is sentenced March 10th, 2023. 10-year sentence. Now, he was facing something like 84 years. But again, this is the maximum sentence. But let me show. So he sentenced November 18, 2022. He's paroled March of 2025. Let's go over this. Thank you, Holly. And by the way, this wasn't his first trip at the rodeo. Not to mention the 2 girls that he was harboring, which I wonder what he was doing with those girls in his house. Oh, let's speculate. But he has many other scary offenses, very scary DV type offenses. He's a dangerous man to any woman. He's a very dangerous man to children. And he was trying to get one of them pregnant. If you want to add insult to injury. An Iowa City man has been sentenced to at least a decade in prison after essaying teenage runaways. Judge Justin Lightfoot handed down the sentence to 27-year-old Nathaniel as part of a plea deal. Why not give him a plea deal? The first victim was a 14-year-old girl who was on the run from the shelter placement with another girl. Whitfield reportedly allowed them to stay at his Lynn Street apartment on various nights between June and October of 2021. During those times, Whitfield allegedly surprised the girl with the devil's lettuce that they smoked together on several occasions. A photo was reportedly located showing Whitfield and the girl kissing, and he later allegedly admitted that they had engaged in sex acts. Whitfield also reportedly admitted that he knew she was on the run and believed her to be around 15 or 16 years old. Remember how he starts off this parole hearing by saying, I met them at the church. I wonder if that's his stalking ground. He met them at his stalking ground. And then how he tries to play it off like really dumb. Like, he sounds like every Ch0M0, It's I think it's part where there's something slow, but part manipulation. But it's what's he say? Did he? I think I recall him saying that he didn't turn down their advances. That's what he did wrong. And then the parole board member brings up, well, how old were your victims? So he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. And even at the end, he what he learned from his programs, I think, was to turn down their advances. It's just sick. But it's normal. But the parole board, what's sick is the parole board releasing him. Now, the second victim, a 15-year-old girl, told authorities that between June and August of 2021, Whitfield supplied her with the devil's lettuce, and they smoked together multiple times, as she told police that they had intercourse multiple times and were together and trying to get her pregnant. Whitfield reportedly admitted that he had supplied the devil's lettuce, that they toked together, and that the two were in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and that they had engaged in acts of a sexual nature. Whitfield pled guilty to 3 counts of third-degree SA, paraphernalia distribution, harboring runaway charges, and the harboring runaway charges were dropped. Why not? Why not drop them? Lightfoot gave Whitfield 3. See, there it is. He did 3 10-year sentences. We have seen parole boards look at a sentence and say, if a judge will give you 3 10-year sentences, he's trying to send a message. Maybe we shouldn't release you like 2.5 or 3 years into your 10-year sentence, psychopaths. They don't care though. They really just want to release anybody and everybody. That we know that that's true already. Although online records do not indicate that they will run concurrently or consecutively, Whitfield also ordered no contact until 2028. He can contact his victims in 2028. Why would the judge allow that? That's insane. What a clown. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Seriously? And as you can see, the gaslighting, no records indicate, as far as they knew, they didn't know whether it was concurrent or not. If convicted on the original charges, Whitfield would have faced up to 84 years in prison. Last year, see, here it is, Whitfield faced up to 4 years in jail for 2 counts of harboring runaway against the wishes of parents for a separate incident where he allegedly harbored teen runaways. And all he served was 30 days for that. So while he is out facing charges on this incident, he goes out and does it again to 2 victims and full on essays, and they give him a slap on the wrist sentence. This is Iowa injustice for you. It is insane. To anyone who is not a PhD, to anyone who is not in Department of Corrections or in government, because they're much smarter than us. Anyone who's not any one of those people can tell that this is madness. There is no rehabilitation. We've clearly seen that. There's no, I would say even retribution. I mean, just no, not enough retribution. And you're not protecting the community. I mean, he can even contact his victims in a couple of years. Clowns. They're a bunch of clowns. And thank you, Lady Hall. Oh, right. Also, let me show you his record too. This guy had a long record, so there were many reasons to lock him up. Let me just show you so you can have a picture painted. So he has in the 2023. This says his full term date is 2026. I still don't even get how that maths out. But again, just lifetime is special sentence. So he has 9/03/2020 harassment 2nd degree, 12/31/2019 criminal mischief 4th degree, count 3 trespassing, injury or damage, 9/2/2020 DV injury or mental 1st offense, domestic abuse assault, impending airflow, causing bodily injury. This is what this man picked up in 2020. He's trying to get 14-year-old girls pregnant, which was a violation of probation. So when he was harboring those girls, he already violated probation and he still got out, huh? 1/12/2022. Violation of probation. So they gave him, Holly has a note, so they gave him 2 years to run concurrent with the new sentence. They're such jokes. It's just unbelievable. It truly is. Now we're about to watch another parole hearing. This man, I haven't seen his parole hearing yet, but Holly has in the notes. I think he has something like 60, 70, or 80 arrests. And his victim comes on to speak about how nervous she is about him getting arrested. It's crazier than this one. So, but you will believe it. Be prepared for it. It's nuts. Let's jump in. Today's video is sponsored by Aura. Did you know companies can take months to report a data breach? On average, it's 277 days before you even find out that your personal data has been exposed. Think about that, 277 days. That means that your sensitive information, like your email, your phone number, even your financial details, can already be out there. Now, it's not just one company, but major banks and corporations, they've all experienced breaches in the past year. Maybe you've seen about it in the news. Your information could be compromised right now, and you wouldn't even know it. Now, that's why I use Aura. Aura scans the dark web and alerts me fast if personal information has been leaked. If someone tries to open a bank account or credit card in my name, I'll know right away. I have been using Aura for about maybe 9 months now. Something that they also do that really helps me a lot is keep spam callers away. That's a big bonus for me. They actually remove my name from those spam caller lists. Now, they also provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance and a full suite of tools to keep you protected. And this is it's all done in one app. You can try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/Mandoo. And that's 2 weeks to find out if your data has already been exposed before you hear from a company months later. So why wait? Get some peace of mind and try out Aura for free. Take control of your digital security right now. And now, let's go back to the hearing.
Yes.
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Just wanted to know if there was any additional information that came through since this was submitted?
No, I actually just looked right before I got in here and yeah, there's nothing new. He hasn't gotten any reports or anything. So, yeah.
Okay, and then, do you know how long he's been married to Jenna?
A long time. I don't know exactly how long, but I know it's been a while.
Okay, okay,
Significant amount of time.
okay. We have a victim, but, she's going to go ahead and speak and provide a statement before we invite him in.
Okay.
Kind of give you a heads up. So,
You ready? Okay,
yeah, so Heather, I'll go ahead and take over
okay,
now, unless my colleagues have any questions.
good, okay. Okay, Mary, I am gonna promote you to panelist, if you could please accept that. Good enough. Excellent. There we go. Thank you. So Mary, you can now leave your camera off or turn it on. You can go ahead and unmute and you can share your statement when you're ready. Please keep it directed towards the board. Go ahead and start when you're ready.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Perfect, thank you. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Okay. I wrote a statement, so to whom it may concern, first of all, I would like to thank members of the Pro Board for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is, I am a victim of Richard Heckathorn, and I am asking you to help me become a non-victim today of Richard Heckathorn and regain my life back. So I would like to begin by saying I dated him for about 4 years and I ended up ending the relationship due to him doing some meth and stealing. He stole from me and my minor child. He started doing meth and I told him I couldn't have that around my child. He ended up stealing from me. He stole some rings that I had got from my deceased mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother. They were wedding ring sets, and he ended up pawning them for $30 at the gold buyer's shop. I had receipts that totaled them for up to $1,800. I ended up finding my rings and I charged him for the stealing. He pled guilty to that theft. I got an NCO from him, which he violated about 12 times and ended up doing about 10 also dirty UAs for that charge. He then proceeded to follow my child and I to school, all over the place, just everywhere I decided to go. I seen him everywhere, whether it was a gas station or whether it was a bank or picking up my child. It just didn't matter. I ended up logging everything and I have pages after pages after pages of that. It was just very, very, very scary incident. This took a few years for all that to subside a little bit. I ended up also having to get him banned from the job that I have, and I work here. I live here in Libertyville. It's a little town south of Fairfield, not too far from Mount Pleasant as well. And I had him banned from my job. I work at the local gas station, so that he couldn't come there and harass me there as well. I also had a new car, and he ended up putting pancake syrup in my gas tank, which cost me several $100s to have it towed, and my gas tank dropped, and you know, things like that done to it. As well as having all that done, I did about 3 trips to the emergency room to have stitches put in. I had several of them put in my hands. Let's see, there was also some incidences where this road that comes into my town, he would put hand painted signs and would screw them to the county line signs at the end of the road, and they would be hand painted and they would say stuff like "Happy birthday, Karen," and a few explicit words on them. A deputy sheriff that lives in my town also saw them, and he would rip them off of there, and disperse them for me so that I didn't have to see them. Half the town didn't have to see them. He would also send roses to my job, and I would end up going to the flower shop asking for the videos, and I would report it and also get him for a violation of a no contact order that way. This went on for a long, long time. When I asked my son later, after I'd gotten rid of him, I was oblivious to some of the things that were happening with my child. I thought, we were in love. This was going to be my thing. I was very, very wrong. I come home one day from work and I walked into a fist fight between an adult man and a 10-year-old child. This was very eye-opening, an event. I could not believe what my eyes were seeing. My child also told me that he was vacuuming one time and Richard come in and was just slapping him on top of the head and said, "You are vacuuming wrong. That's not how you do it." My child was so confused. He's like, "Mom, I don't understand how I could be vacuuming wrong." Another time he was getting water out of the refrigerator and Richard ended up taking the water bottle out of his hands and throwing it at his groin. There's just like incidences like that I believe that he's not a very child friendly person. He is he's a manipulator, he's a womanizer, he's a meth addict, he's a thief. I mean, we would like to be, moving on with our life. And when I sat down last night and I wrote this, it was very all kinds of feelings come up. I was like, what in the world were we doing with this guy? Definitely we were victimized by him, and I would like to feel vindicated and not like a fool, or not like I was used for bait, like I felt like I was being used like that from the county attorney or from Richard. I felt like I was being walked all over. you know I do not believe he has spent enough time in prison for any of these charges. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but I thought a stalking charge, carried a 10-year sentence. This was very, very, very scary for me and my child. And to my knowledge, he's only been in a couple years. And I'm just thinking, think about if this was your daughter, how would you like this to be done to your child? I mean, I'm not trying to turn any of this around and do an oh poor me thing, but this was just a very, very scary event. To have to look over your shoulder all the time and see, is he coming? Where is he at? Do I have to lock my vehicle while I run into this gas station real quick, to grab some milk or, something like that? It's just a very scary guy. I had security lights posted at my back doors and my front door, and those kept getting ripped off all the time. I would come home to those being gone. My minor child would be at home while I would try to be at work. And mind you, it's only 2 blocks from where I worked, but I was always feared that my child is at home and I'm at work. What's going to happen today? And my child is now grown up. He's 17 now, but now he's getting ready to go out into the world and to get a job. And we have talked about Richard, what happens, Connor, if you're going to be at a job and you run into him, what are you going to do? And I said, you just need to just go on with your life and just ignore him. Don't let him provoke you. Don't, I'm very scared for that. And I would like for my child to have this opportunity to move on, to as well just blossom and grow, and to let this turmoil just be behind him, to be planted in something and move on from this, and not having to look over his shoulder as well. I'm just asking for you to keep him in there, have him discharge the stalking charge. I mean, I don't feel he has been rehabilitated. He's been in prison several times. I think this is a career for him. He doesn't learn. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. I am going to now move you back to an attendee, and we'll just then we'll continue with the interview, and you can continue to be a part of it. There you go, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Okay, and we have a Heather here as well, Heather. So
Yeah.
you have to excuse me if I sound like I'm talking to different people. But anyhow, now that was presented, my colleagues, I don't believe have any questions for you. I believe at this time you can go ahead and bring them on in.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello? Hello? Before we go ahead and get started, can you? See?
Yes.
Okay, so how this will go is that we, the panel, will look to ask you some questions. Within those questions, like for you to answer them to the best of your ability. Try to be brief and not too long-winded, but try to be brief with explaining, with the explanation. And then from that, through the questions, I may have some other questions at the end. I'll start off my questions for you. and then go through the members. And then if there's a time during the course of the interview where you feel that there's other information that you didn't get a chance to share, then I will come back to you to allow you that time to present that information and be able to share with us. After you share that information, I'll have you sit back. Last time you gave us what we'll do is go through deliberations. So first off, where we would like to go is we want you to start off and just tell us what were the things that was going on that led you to be incarcerated in prison for when you got revoked?
It started out was, I had an affair. And I left my wife, went out with this girl for a couple of years. Come to find out my wife had cancer, so I went back home to her. And it went back and forth between me and this girl for a while, and I ended up getting the stalking charge. And in the meantime, I ended up getting a few dirty UAs. And that's what led me to come to prison.
Okay. When I hear you state the relationship you engaged in that was not your wife, what brought that about?
No, it was an ex-girlfriend.
Oh, ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what can you give us some insight as to what led you to that relationship?
Things just wasn't going right at home. And but now I'm back with my wife. We've been back together for 6 years.
Okay. So then if I ask you, with this ex-girlfriend that you was with, were you two using together?
No,
Okay.
no.
So
And that's what split me and that girl up, was my use.
your use?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about your use.
It's been a long, many years. Been many treatments.
And that's the best you can describe it?
It's been a rough road. Been a hard thing to overcome.
Okay. So what kind of use are we talking about then?
Methamphetamine.
And is that the only use that you engaged in?
Yes.
Okay. No alcohol?
No.
Just meth?
Yeah.
When did you start using meth?
Probably 10 years ago, 15.
Okay. So the meth use that you were using, how much of it that you were using during the week?
Oh, maybe once a day.
Once a day?
Yes.
Okay. And so how much would you use?
Maybe a gram a day.
About a gram a day? Okay. Were you working with the PO during this time?
Yes.
Part of this time?
Yes. I was going to Celebrate Recovery, NA, and CETA.
Okay. Tell me the relationship about with the PO when you were doing this use once a day, for however long.
I had a good relationship with the PO. I never lied to him about my use. I was always wanting to help, and he was helping me.
What happened with treatment?
My wife ended up with cancer again, and I left treatment, and that's why it got me sent back to prison.
Okay. What about the numerous violations that you had prior to your wife being diagnosed?
But it was just a hard thing to beat.
Okay. But you had initial treatment that was recommended for you to follow through on, and you chose not to. Why was that?
So my addiction overtook my power to go to treatment.
give me some insight as to, since you were revoked, is this the longest period that you went without using?
Yes,
Okay. Can you tell me what makes you better today than when you were revoked and placed in prison?
You are trash.
well, one thing, my wife has cancer, she's in Iowa City right now, and I know how bad she needs me. And I just found out my father has cancer, and I have grandkids. And I don't want to be taken away from that no more. I know my family needs me, and I want to be there for them.
What's your position with treatment?
I've completed all the treatments here. And then when I get out, I want to get into CETA, and hopefully I'd like to go try to be a counselor, a drug treatment counselor.
Okay. I'm gonna conclude my questions for now. I'll probably look to resume and come back. I'm gonna look to see if my colleagues have any questions for you. Meredith, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Heckthorn. I guess my first one is, do you have a relapse prevention plan or a support system in place for when you leave to maintain your sobriety?
Yes, I do. I have a Celebrate Recovery with the pastor, and back into CETA again when I get released.
So are you planning to do, to attend Celebrate Recovery out in the community?
Yes, yeah,
Do you know where they meet?
yes. I was going to Celebrate Recovery before I come in, and small little town next to Fairfield, which is Brighton.
And what are your plans for transportation to get to those meetings?
I have a driver's license and a vehicle.
And then I see that it looks like you want to help your dad out with his roofing company. And I imagine with his diagnosis that there's a little bit more drive to want to do that. But have you done that work before, or will this be?
Yeah, I worked with my dad for 40 years at roofing. And that's the reason he wants to turn the company over to me, is because he knows how well I am with the company.
How many employees does he have?
We have 6 working for us, and they're all family members.
Okay. And those employees and family members that you have, are they aware of your struggles with drug use and able to identify if you have relapsed?
They're very supportive. None of them uses. So it's a good environment to be in.
What do you think are your biggest risk factors for a relapse?
Mine would be going back around the old friends that I know I have to stay away from.
How do you plan to stay away from those people, going back to a relatively small community?
Well, I want to keep myself busy and keep with my family more than I usually did.
And then, again, going back to the same community in the same area, what are your intentions as far as contacting your victim or, being anywhere that she's at, avoiding her in such a small area?
It's been 6 years ago when this all happened, the charge of the stalking, and I haven't seen her since. So there's no problem there.
Well, thank you. I think those were all the questions that I had for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meredith. Dana, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a few. So there's been a lot of discussion here about the meth addiction, and I'm gonna stay on that path for just a little bit longer. Where were you buying your meth from? If you were using about a gram a day, where were you buying it from?
From friends around town.
Okay, so if you're allowed to go back to that community and now there's a customer back, tell me what you've learned in prison that's going to help you navigate that. And don't just say, "Oh, I'm going to stay away from them." You know, I'm going to avoid them because it's a small community and you're going to run into them. Tell me what you've learned and what tools you have now that are going to allow you to separate yourself.
I'm gonna put my family first, and I know my family needs me, and I'm gonna be there for them more than I'm gonna be for the people that wants my money and wants me to use with them. And my grandkids are more important than anything in the world right now. I want to see them grow up. I don't want to see them with their grandma in prison. So, and like I said, you know, I like to be a counselor, so I want to get into school, Indian Hills and Atoma, and to become a counselor to help others.
Okay, and then if you're allowed to go back to this small community, and my colleague touched on it a little bit, you know, obviously there's a no contact order. You understand the terms of that, correct?
Yes. Yeah, she lives in another town.
Yeah,
Away from the town I live in. So.
yeah, I understand that, but you know, we're still talking about rural Iowa here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how are you gonna, so obviously the people in the community in Fairfield are, most of them are probably aware of your struggles, what happened, why you landed in prison, you know, the whole meth issue. If you're allowed to return back there, it's gonna come with a certain stigma. People are gonna talk, people are gonna, you know, be watching you and all that. How are you equipped to deal with that?
Man, family support, you know, I'm gonna spend a lot of time with my family and try to stay away from the areas where I know is bad. I'm gonna spend a lot of time with my family.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay. You completed active in December, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what did you learn from that class that you completed? What were some of the things that stick out to you that highlights you completing that class?
Like I said earlier, the most that I got out of active was the value of my family and that they're very supportive. And I need my family.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think family is important. But when my colleagues are asking about a plan, that's a little bit not coming off because we also know that there needs to be some support. And knowing that you did state that you're planning to follow up with some meetings and AA meetings, but I'm not getting enough from you from what support that you're looking for that you know is going to be needed and helpful for you. And before you answer, I ask this because you have a history of isolating yourself, being with yourself, staying away from others when you are in need. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So can you help us to understand you not isolating yourself, but you know, are looking for other support functions that can be helpful to you when you get into that state of mind of those habits? Because Fairfield is definitely a small town.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So can you help us understand that?
But like I said, my main support is my family. You know, if I see if I have a problem or something, you know, I'll turn to my family and have them help me and be there for me. I talk to my family every day, and they want this as much as I do. And they're there for me.
Okay. I saw something that you was looking at CETA. Is it CETA?
Yes.
Okay. What are the things that you know about CETA program?
CETA is a good program. I've gone through it before, and they're very supportive. Like 3 times a week.
That concludes my questions. This is where I turn it back over to you to see if there's any last bit of information you would like to share with us that you didn't get a chance to share. This would be that time before we go into deliberations.
I'm good. I think I pretty much got it cleared. Thank you.
Okay. All right, just sit back, relax. You'll hear us communicate, but don't engage, and then I will come back to you and let you know what that outcome will be. Okay. Colleagues, anyone wants to share their thoughts on this?
I can start, Meredith, if you don't mind. So as we're doing our research on this and going through the records, I obviously don't like much of this at all. I don't like the original charge. I don't like what he put his PO through. There's 2 pages of a long, sad history of failure, from not showing up for appointments to not answering the door when they come knocking on his door, to dirty UAs. I mean, the list goes on and on. The whole relationship thing that's going on was a little difficult for me to grasp, but I think I have a better understanding of that now. But I know what this is going to be like in small town Iowa. I just do. People are going to cross paths. Having said all that, not liking any of this, we're up against a discharge date. That's in July. So he got a 5-year sentence for the stalking. We don't have any control over the sentencing. We don't impose the sentences. In fact, we're not involved in the prosecution. We're left to deal with what we have in front of us. Originally, my thoughts were make him sit till July. But at that point, he's going to be released and he's going to be on his own. And I think that's a horrible decision for us to allow that to happen, because then we lose any semblance of control, any inclination of supervision, and any restrictions and or expectations that we have the ability to put on him in this period, between the time we sit here today to his discharge date. And I think that's the best move for everyone involved. Again, do I like it? No, but I think we have an opportunity to make sure there is supervision, make sure there are restrictions put on it. So I'm going to agree with the EOC's recommendation, but only because it allows us to put him under supervision until his discharge date on this crime. Now, with that, obviously, we're going to need a 48 for substance abuse. I think that's a no-brainer. We all know the history there. I would also throw an alcohol prohibition on there. He claims alcohol has not been a problem, and there's not a huge indication of that in the research that we've all done. However, some of those same environments could bring the people that, either use or push methamphetamine. So I think staying out of those environments completely is is probably important. I don't like the crime at all. I don't. That's just that's one of my deals. And I'll probably never get over that. So I think it's probably worthwhile to have a discussion about a GPS. So his PO knows where he's at. I mean, there are still people out there. There's a victim of this crime. I don't care if it was 6 years ago or 8 years ago or 2 days ago. But I think that additional monitoring would be a benefit to the PO, number one, given the history, but also just the nature of the crime. So those are my thoughts.
Appreciate it. Meredith?
I think with the time frame left, we're kind of in a bind, right, with 4.5 months left before his discharge date. I could get on board with doing it with the GPS, knowing that any violations really are just going to result in sitting in jail on the county confinement fund until the end of his sentence date. I don't know that there's a whole lot of time left for any meaningful supervision, but I guess that's a check and balance. At least if there was the GPS that was violated, there would be a brief period of jail time before the discharge date. Normally that we wouldn't do, but I can understand with the stalking charge why that would be a happy medium that we could go for. So I would support those codes.
Okay. I'm in agreement. I like what both of you shared. Matter of fact, prior to you just mentioning the GPS, I wrote it down just as a discussion. But hearing what both of you were able to share, I'm in agreement with each of the points and each of your comments regarding Mr. Hector. Okay, I'll go ahead and inform him. Okay, Mr. Hector.
Yes.
Okay, as you had a chance to hear what my colleague stated, you didn't get a chance to hear me because I basically wanted to share with you. I'm in agreement with them. I mean, I don't necessarily like all the intangibles that's involved into your case. And when I mentioned intangibles, you said that you were truthful and from the information that we have access to, I felt that you were in sharing with your PO of your use. The biggest factor was how serious are you to breaking the habits that you have? Meaning putting yourself in the best environment, in the best positions so that you don't use, if that makes sense.
It does not make sense.
Yes.
And so being truthful is one thing, but following and doing those things that is needed to help take care of your family so that you are reliable and dependable for what you're about to engage in or transition into to help your dad and his business, to also, reconcile and be back with your wife and to be that example, to following through and being at your best. That's why the support with your family, but also other professionals could be very helpful for you if you took that serious as well, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's kind of like you said, the people that work for your dad, those 6 individuals, and they don't use, that's a good environment, or could be a very good environment. But knowing your history and knowing your tendencies and knowing your habits and knowing where you can put yourself not in the best interest to make certain split decisions, that's where that support and that place where you need to be and, people that you need to lean on so that can be helpful so that you don't revert back to past habits. I'm really hoping that you take that into account for being with your family and listening to your family, so that you can continue that growth and being better. I hope you do follow up and follow through with SETA. If I said that right, I apologize. And I hope that you continue with your PO to have a better relationship so that, you follow through with those suggestions and implement those things in your life, because they can be very, very beneficial for you. With that being said, due to, as my colleague said, there's not enough time on the back end, because you do have a discharge date of July 20th of 25. Hoping that you don't do any of violations, throughout that time. We are in agreement with DOC's recommendation, which is a PGD3. That just means that you'll be going to your resident to be with your wife who has cancer that you stated. We also have the 40A, and that 40A is that you still want that substance abuse eval so that you can follow through and address those tendencies that is needed so that you're able to stay clean and sober. We also talked about looking at the meetings, but I'm sure you'll get a chance to address that. We talked about the GPS. The GPS is just a safeguard to be in place so that prevents you from any violations. Knowing that you've had violations in your past, we don't want you to have any further violations going forward, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to have that GPS unit so that's a protective factor, but it also keeps us aware that you're doing what you stated to us, that you're going to focus on your family, and I hope you meant to also focus on yourself. Okay. We also then stated a 50A, and that's prohibition. Even though you said that you don't do any alcohol, or alcohol has not been a problem in your case, we don't want you in the atmosphere. So we don't want you to be in liquor stores, purchasing any liquor for anyone, or being in those establishments. Because small towns come with a lot of establishments that has a menu, but some of those places might have more income that come from alcohol use than the actual food source. So we just want you to be careful in those situations and to avoid your time being in those kind of establishments, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. And then other than that, that's all that concludes this interview. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Wish you well, wish you good luck, and hope that you do, as serious as you are, hope that you take the things that is needed for you to stay focused. Because you'll see commit. We don't want to see you again. Does that make sense?
It does not make sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right.
I'm gonna go get Desi real quick.
Okay, hey, and just tell her we're gonna take like a couple of minutes, and
Okay,
then we'll be back, just a little water break.
yep, that's fine.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Yep, thank you.
And it does not make sense. None of this makes sense. And if you're watching and you're just saying, how is any of this possible? Then it means you probably don't have a PhD. You probably don't work in government, and you probably don't work at the DOC. I have nothing else to tell you. I don't know the answer, but it also probably means that you still have some hope. Oh my God. This guy has such a long record. The first thing that we need to ask is, how is it possible that he has an expiration date in July. You know, you want to make the argument that the parole board, what choice do they have? They have to give him some supervision. Okay, go ahead. We can focus our energy on how in the world he is not locked up for life or for at least another 20 years or whatever it might be. I'll go through the information that Lady Holly has in there. I mean, he has like, I don't know, decades of prison time sentenced him already that he hasn't served. And they are releasing a lying man. He completely lied throughout his hearing. A man who will reoffend, in my opinion, if you look at his record, in a small town to stalk and violate the protection orders of his victim. And the parole board, we've seen enough. You just have to reference back to Louisiana. They wouldn't say, well, we want you to have supervision, so we're going to release you even though we know you're going to come back and reoffend. No, they would say, no, enough's enough, you're done. Let's just keep you locked up a little longer. We're not going to have it on our conscience as a parole board in the newspapers on our record when you go back and kill someone or reoffend. Sorry, you've lost your chance. You think having a few months with an ankle monitor and a probation officer, what does that mean? I really want you to talk it out to us without our PhDs and explain to us, what does that mean? July, it's in 6 months, July. So at best, you can hopefully protect him protect the Vic for 6 months and then take off the ankle. Like, just keep him behind bars. I don't get it. I mean, and again, you know, that is a debate that you can have. My side of the debate is no, you just have to say enough's enough and punish him and give the victim some type of feeling of being heard. I mean, she's saying, please give me some type of justice. But let's just go through his record now and let's wonder together how the judges agreed to allow this man to not be in prison. So, and look at the notes from Holly. It's quite interesting. So bloody hell. Remember, she's from Australia, so you got to say it with you. Bloody hell. I'm not going to try. Bloody hell. This took me hours to put together, and mind you, I know it did. She's not exaggerating. His criminal history is insane. Okay, this is what I don't get. Look at how often he violated parole. Look at how many times he broke the protection order. This pathetic parole board, he's like, it's been 6 years. Well, you're being honest. Like, why did they say no? It hasn't been 6 years. No, it hasn't. This just happened. This just happened like a year ago. Also, look at some of the sentences: 25 years, 10 years, 5 years. How the hell was he out and committing crimes? His crimes start back in 1996. Controlled substance. Remember how he said, oh, I didn't start until like 10 years ago. We found one article, that's why I pasted it there. But controlled substance, again, 3190. So he has 3596, 3196, 22897, disorderly conduct, disturbance of peace, 31496, 5597, armed with intent. He got fed, I think that's fed time, but dismissed by the court. Assault, intent to inflict serious injury, that's 31496, 61598, criminal mischief, third degree. By the way, in Louisiana, he gets the habitual offender bill. He gets 100. He gets life for this. In other states, I think he could too. I don't know. See, Iowa, it's a misconception that they're tough on crime. They are not. Criminal mischief, second degree, 6398, class D felony, DV in 6398, interference with official act 62198. Remember, this is 13 pages, so it keeps going. Burglary, second degree, operating a vehicle with no consent, aggravated misdemeanor, operating a vehicle without a license or denied, 322,000, controlled substance 99, possession of paraphernalia, 71902, substance, blah, 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 81902, something else, controlled substance again, possession of controlled substance again, driving a license as suspended, 82202, possession paraphernalia, 82302, driving license suspended. And he said, I have my license, BS, BS. 121104, failure to blah, blah, blah. 12.4, properly stop, financial no coverage, carry registration card, 41805, blah, 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 possession paraphernalia, theft, controlled substance. I mean, look at this. Oh, wait, what's this one? Controlled substance sentence. It says 25 years, but surely that can't be right. No, it's not right. They even suspended the fine. So, I mean, it's not right. We know it's not right. We know he hasn't spent all that time in prison because look, in 2008 he has his next thing. So maybe he spent a few years in prison from 05 until 08 because that's the gap. That's the only way to explain the gap. 123 2009, theft, aggravated misdemeanor, blah blah blah, violation of probation in 2010. No, it's not even. No, these are offense dates. 2000. Yeah, so he wasn't even locked up that long here. He's committing offenses in 08. Next offense, 2913, 9913, failure, 81114, speeding, 1012 2017. I mean, it's accurate. This is insane. This is nothing short of insane. Public intoxication, third offense. So I was wondering if we would find that. So I mean, either he's hopped up on his stuff and that's what it means, or it means he's drinking, right? And they almost didn't even make that a prohibition. Can you imagine? Miss whatever her name is didn't even add that. It was the former police chief. If you can imagine, he was a former police chief. It's the one who said, maybe we should say a prohibition against drinking. Oh, they're such clowns. Violation of the contact protective order, 2018. Disorderly contact, abusive, theft, threatening gesture. 7/18/2018, another protective order, violation of that. How crazy was it too? I've been married all this time. Yeah, all right, buddy. I feel bad. His wife. Oh my God, theft, third degree. 10/18/17, 2 years, fully suspended. I mean, it just keeps going. We're at page 9. We saw up till page 13. No valid driver's license in 2019. Remember, he said he had a license. Stalking, 2018. Violation of contact protective order, 2018. Here's where he keeps violating his probation. Violation of contact order 2019. Speeding. Failure to maintain use of safety belt. No contact protective order 22. Trespass. Speeding. You know, it's interesting, man. The speeding tickets, it doesn't say drive without a license. Maybe he did get his license back. But also they oftentimes drop charges. So harassment, first degree, 190 days jail, fully suspended. Look at this. In 7/3/2022, they actually suspend his sentence. Clowns. Burglary, third degree, dismissed. Violation of contact protective order, dismissed on plea. They do not care about protecting their constituent. They do not give a flying. Violation probation. Violation probation 2/12/2024. This is what I don't get. I mean, this parole hearing is in March 2025. I mean, like, he's barely been locked up. Like, hardly even locked up. DV on 3/7/24. Dismissed, of course. And that's it. And only one article. But after all that, one article feels anticlimactic. I mean, the whole hearing's anticlimactic. The whole thing is anticlimactic. The only thing that I think we can guarantee is going to happen is that he will reoffend. I know you can't say. I'm speculating on a situation like this. Who knows, right? Maybe we just don't know. You know, maybe the Einstein saying do the same thing, expect different results is just not true in this case. Maybe this guy has changed. Maybe he's seen the light. Maybe He's completely rehabilitated. He's going to go home and help his ailing father run his roofing business. He's going to help his ailing wife deal with cancer. He's going to be this charming young man who's just full of vigor and energy and compassion, and he's going to be able to do something that a normal healthy person with a normal record would have a challenge doing. He's not. He's going to do great. He's going to do great. We know it. And with that, I'll let you go.
You know, I was like, what in the world were we doing with this guy? You know, definitely we were victimized by him, and I would like to feel vindicated and not like a fool, or not like I was used for bait, like I felt like I was being used like that from the county attorney or from Richard, you know. I felt like I was being walked all over. You know, I do not believe he has spent enough time in prison for any of these charges. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but I thought a stalking charge, you know, carried a 10-year sentence. This was very, very, very scary for me and my child. And to my knowledge, he's only been in a couple years. And I'm just thinking, you know, think about if this was your daughter, you know, how would you like this to be done to your child?